All right, guys, buckle up for this story because I'm going to take you on a wild roller coaster ride here. Okay, we're going to talk about Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom, or as I call him, Greasy Gavin. I feel like that's the best nickname anybody's ever come up with for anybody ever. I think I've now surpassed Trump and his very, Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary. I think Greasy Gavin is like, mwah, chef's kiss perfect. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Greasy Gavin because Gavin Newsom had a wild week. He did some things, which I'm going to show you, which are mega-based. But then he did other things which are horrific beyond all imagination. Okay? So we're going to get into all of it. Now, not too long ago, he actually went to the spin room at the Republican debate. And he was there basically on behalf of the Biden campaign, right? And what I noticed in the fallout from it is that people on the right are saying, okay, we're terrified of this guy. We think he can win a general election. That was the consensus that I saw. A bunch of people on the right being like, holy cow, he's good at this. Look out. Interesting. Okay. So let's look. I'll just show you one of the moments from the spin room which people were highlighting, and then we can talk about it.
We're just prone to distraction when we got a record of accomplishment.
Who's we? Democrats?
All of us are distracted, and we need to be more forceful. 13.5 million jobs, almost 7 times more than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. Joe Biden administration, 47 million jobs created since Ronald Reagan left office in 1989. 47 out of 49 million done by Democratic administrations. That's 96%. This jobs debate is not even interesting. The only thing that's interesting is the last 3 Republican presidents have one thing in common: recessions. I mean, we dominate on the facts, but not the narrative. And we've got to shape-shift that narrative, and we've got to be more forceful. That's why I'm here at the Reagan Library.
I think it's fair to say the overwhelming majority of Republicans who would run for higher office would not know how to handle this. They would not know how to handle it. He seems like he's well-versed in, like, the resistance liberal facts. And I don't say that dismissively and derisively. I mean that, like, literally, that he's very well-versed in those facts. And he'll clobber you over the head with them. So does the right have a point when they're like, I hope it's not that guy because we'll lose? I mean, they kind of do. I will caution a little bit, though, because I saw a great point from Felix, one of the Chapo guys. He was like, Newsom could end up being like a DeSantis-type character, right? Like DeSantis was riding high and had all the love of the Republican base, and then as soon as he stepped out of Florida and got to national politics, all of a sudden it was like, it just didn't work out. And it's very possible, same thing with Gavin Newsom. Big in California, got a lot of Democratic voters like, yeah, that's the guy. And then as soon as he steps into the national spotlight in a more serious way, it could be flame out city, right? So just a little bit of caution on that front. But look, as of right now, I largely agree. I mean, if you compare this to Joe Biden, who's basically barely alive, can Biden make an argument that's 1/10 as compelling as what Gavin Newsom said here? No. I mean, I think that's obvious, right? Okay. So this is how his saga of the recent week began, this clip that you just saw, and all the spin room stuff. Well, then we learned, as you all know, Dianne Feinstein passed away. Now, nobody saw this coming. That's a joke. Everybody saw this coming. She's like 712 years old, and she was having all these health issues, and basically Nancy Pelosi was forcing her to stay in office so that it could help Adam Schiff to take the seat from her. Anyway, you guys know the political backstory. That's super gross. Well, after Dianne Feinstein passes away, Gavin Newsom has the right to appoint a replacement to basically be in the seat until the next election. And he did exactly that. Now, early on, everybody thought, he said, I'm going to appoint a progressive black woman. And so everybody rightly, including myself, was like, oh my God, he's going to appoint Barbara Lee. That's awesome. Well, of course, Greasy Gavin let us down because he's Greasy Gavin. And he did not do that. He made this argument of like, well, look, she's already running for the seat. I don't want to pick anybody who's already running for the seat. I got to pick somebody who's not running. And so he went with LaFonza Butler. Now, who is LaFonza Butler? Well, she's a former SEIU labor leader. Oh, okay. Former head of Emily's List, like the women's rights group. She was big in California politics. I believe she was a close ally of Kamala Harris. Okay, that's a red flag. But then look at this. Newsom appoints the head of Emily's List, who also was an advisor and representative of Uber in its fight against the California bill seeking employee status for drivers. So I read an NBC News article on it, and here you have the Politico article on it. A lot of these articles omit the facts that make her look bad. Like, for example, that one right there. So for those of you who don't know the backstory on that, they were trying to make it so that Uber drivers would be classified as employees, so they get employee protections and they get a wage that's better, as opposed to the loophole they use now is you're an independent contractor. You work on your own time, you set your own schedule, but they also take advantage of you more and you make worse money in that scenario. So they were trying to make it so that, let's give these people a decent wage and a decent life and give them more labor protections or whatever. And the corporate Democrats in California did their best to snuff it out, and they succeeded in snuffing it out. And apparently this woman was an advisor and representative of Uber during that fight. So look, what it shows you is, if you look at her resume, the things at face value don't show everything. When you look beneath the surface, she's a standard corporate Democrat. So of course he goes with a standard corporate Democrat. Now, why is that? Eventually Gavin Newsom wants to become president, and he doesn't want to make his donors pissed off at him. Whether some of the donors potentially be Uber, or, some Hollywood elites, Silicon Valley, right? Like, these are going to be the people who would bankroll him, and he probably doesn't want to piss them off. So who does he pay? A safe corporate Democrat who's going to continue the status quo. Okay. So right off the bat here, bad. Very, very bad. Greasy Gavin, fail. But then we also get this. New California law raises minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 per hour, among the nation's highest. So, look, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. A new law in California will raise the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 per hour next year, an acknowledgement from the state's Democratic leaders that most of the often overlooked workforce are the primary earners for their low-income households. When it takes effect on April 1st, fast food workers in California will have the highest guaranteed base salary in the industry. The state's minimum wage for all other workers, $15.50, is already among the highest in the United States. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom signed the law Thursday amid a throng of cheering workers and labor leaders at an event in Los Angeles. Newsom dismissed the popular view that fast food jobs are meant for teenagers to have their first experience in the workforce. So, look, this is a big deal. So basically what you have here is now all the fast food workers, it's called sectoral bargaining. All the fast food workers in California are unionized, and they could collectively, negotiate for better wages. And now they were able to get a $20 an hour minimum wage. And look, Newsom signed the bill, right? So this is what we call based Greasy Gavin right here. So right now we got one in the strike against column, one in the strike for column, okay? We also have this. California, now this one was from a little while ago. California moves to cap insulin costs at $30. Start manufacturing naloxone. So in other words, what California is doing, and they're leading the nation on this one, they are doing a public option for insulin. And they're going to cut insulin costs by 90%. This is based, and it's a step further than any other governors are going. So now we got two in the yes column, one in the no column. But then we also get this. Gavin Newsom vetoes unemployment insurance for striking workers, marking yet another blow to organized labor. Comes less than a week after screenwriters and studios reached a deal to end a 5-month strike, which was part of the momentum behind the bill. So, in other words, what happened here is there was a bill that made it so that striking workers, I think it's like after 2 weeks of being on strike, they are going to be eligible to get unemployment insurance. And I think it passed through, the California Senate. And then it got to Greasy Gavin's desk, and he vetoed it. He vetoed it. Now, again, why did he do it? I think it's because he wants Hollywood donors. He wants, the major studios and their colossal gobs and gobs of money for when he runs for president. Now, this will also have the flip side of pissing off the writers, pissing off the actors, but I think he cares more about the bigger moneyed interests than them. And so that's why he didn't want to cross them. In the same way, I don't think you'll ever see Gavin Newsom cross Silicon Valley, because they're also going to fund him. So now this is a strike against. So we got two really based things Greasy Gavin did, and we got two really horrible things Greasy Gavin did, all in a short time frame. Now there was also, I remember when I think he vetoed, he vetoed or he refused to sign it? Something. He did something which basically slapped down universal health care for the state of California. That's Greasy Gavin being Greasy Gavin, or as I say here, Greasy Gavin back to being a son of a bitch. But this is like, he's all over the place, man. He's all over the place. In some ways, he does like the most progressive legislation in the entire country. And then in other ways, he's like, let me be the worst of the worst corrupt corporate Democrats. He throws a little bit of everything at you. And I agree with High Progressive here who says, what will Greasy Gavin do next? Gavin Newsom, where Gavin does something Newsom every other week. It's true, man. He's all over the place. He is all over the damn place. Look, I think it's important. Me, in my job, for what I do, I think it's very important that I give you guys all of this information. And you can always come here and trust that I'm going to tell you everything that there is to know about it, right? I'm going to tell you everything he does that's good, and everything he does that's bad, and everything he does that's in between. And I try to do that in politics more broadly and more general. Because, you can't have a full, nuanced, well-rounded picture if you don't know all the information. If I come out here and just harp away on the good things, that's misleading. If I just come out here and harp away on the bad things, that's misleading. You need to know the whole truth, and then you make up your own mind in terms of how much you weigh all of those things. But this is Greasy Gavin. Greasy Gavin at his worst, and Greasy Gavin at his best. It's his ups and his downs, and it's everything in between. And he's certainly making moves that are hinting at some sort of a prominent future. I don't know exactly what his angle is. I don't know if he's trying to get in the Biden administration if Biden were to win again, or if he's trying to set up a run for 2028. I don't know exactly, but he's up to something. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.